welcome to the Nameless podcast, where we talk about what I like, and surprisingly, the audience likes that a lot. So I made it into my career.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Ishan Parekh. I am a self-proclaimed cinephile, and I make YouTube videos about interesting directors, most notably Christopher Nolan, amongst others, of course.
Anyways, yesterday morning I woke up and I was like, यार नोलन पे ना बहुत चर्चा हो रही है और वो रुकी ही नहीं रही है.
हाँ, वो
And I
काफी
was
सालों से नहीं रुक रही.
yeah, and I was like, why is that, right?
Yeah,
So that's when I found your videos online and I watched a few of them, and it's clear that you are a very huge fan of
yeah,
him.
yeah.
And
I mean, it does say something about me that you called me yesterday and I'm here today. So,
it's fine.
yeah.
हम सब वेले होते हैं, it's okay. Anyways, so let's dive into the topic.
Okay.
Nolan. For
Right.
those of you who don't know, Christopher Nolan, is a very, very well known director. That's all I know about him. You start.
So you haven't seen any of his films at all?
I had to see Inception quite a few times to understand what it
So
was.
yeah, okay.
Interstellar, I understood. That made me cry.
Right.
I slept through Oppenheimer.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I loved it, but I get.
Yeah.
But
It was too sciencey for me.
right.
Right? And like as someone who does not have the background, it was very difficult for me to
Hmm.
understand. So, anyways, like what in your views makes him stand out so much from like other directors?
Um, I think first of all, to understand why Nolan works, I think you have to understand that filmmaking is a visual medium. Obviously, there are a lot of moving parts in filmmaking. The narrative is a big part. Obviously, everything that you do behind the screen gets converted into visuals, and I think he has perfected those two sides. He's perfected narrative, and he's perfected in his own way the visuals that he needs to use to actually present the narrative. So I think those two sides that he has perfected make him much better than any other living filmmaker, or at least better than most filmmakers who are alive today. um, I mean, people talk about his concepts, people talk about the ideas that his films are based on, but I think centrally it is about um, how he's able to visually immerse people in his narrative. And
That's
that
true.
is, I think, as a layman, if you have to understand why his films
Yeah.
work. Which also goes on to say that if you look at some of his work, it's visually very intriguing. Even if you're not able to understand everything about what is happening in the story, like the action sequences are great, or there'll be a big action set piece somewhere that'll be amazing. So people are able to invest in that as well. But what you don't understand is subtly is also aligned you with the character. You've started feeling kind of allegiance with the characters, motivations,
Hmm.
and he's done all of that. But he's done it visually, right? And
All right.
obviously, there are other technical aspects that he's mastered over a period of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's what makes him so special. That he pretends to be a blockbuster filmmaker. I mean, I'm using the word pretends quite loosely
Yeah.
because he is a blockbuster filmmaker,
Yeah.
but he's also constructing great narratives,
Absolutely.
under the garb
Yeah.
of a blockbuster. Anyways, yeah.
He's also like I haven't had any interaction with him whatsoever. But he seems like he's very down to earth. Like he seems like he's very down to earth. He does not like चौड़ भी नहीं रहते कि oh I'm such a great filmmaker and all that, which I find is like really nice.
No, I've seen him from a distance once, and it's actually true. I've seen him from a distance once, and in LA, and he does walk around with bodyguards. But I mean, yeah, it's because people like me don't
I
like.
mean, not everyone
Yeah,
can be Adam Sandler, so it's fine.
yeah. It's because people like me don't like throw a script at him and be like, can you make this film? But
I
yeah,
bet he
but
gets
I
a
think
lot of offers.
I'm sure. I'm sure. But yeah, I think what you're saying is true because whosoever I know who has interacted with him one on one does have the same sort of feeling about him, and that is that he's too absorbed with his stories,
Mhm.
too absorbed with the worlds that he's trying to create,
Extremely
and
passionate.
too absorbed with his family also,
Oh,
like his children and his wife. His wife is obviously his longtime producing partner.
oh, I didn't
So
know.
yeah, and they met when they were at University College London.
Oh, that's adorable.
The interesting thing is he's never really attended film school. Yeah, so that's that goes a long way in understanding that
Yeah.
why are his films sort of always breaking boundaries or breaking the
Yeah.
rules and norms of filmmaking is because he never really
Was
adhered
told
to
about
them
the
in the
rules.
first
Yeah.
place. Yeah. Anyways.
And like another thing I've noticed is that his films tend to address such complex narrative structures, right? Like
Mm,
sometimes it literally just goes straight above my head.
right.
Like for me, Inception was just like,
Right.
but in the same time, it's so difficult. And something that I really admire is that he's also able to emotionally immerse the audience. How do you think he's able to do that?
So the interesting thing is, people talk a lot about, and people have written a lot about Nolan. They've written academic papers. I've written academic papers about him. People have just done like normal discussions about him as well. There's so much focus on his narrative structures all the time. But if you think about it, not all his films have non-linear narrative structures, right?
Yeah.
His and that's the good thing about Nolan, and that's what makes him an auteur. Like
Hmm.
the very definition of auteur is, is the fact that he first of all obviously writes all his scripts himself. He obviously has collaborators, like for the Dark Knight trilogy. He had David Esquire, who is a comic book writer.
Yeah.
And then for some of the other stuff that he's written, he's had his brother. But then there's stuff that he writes on his own. But he's always involved in the writing process. Not involved. He is the writing process, right?
Hmm.
His last couple of films, I think last 3 or 4 films, he's written all of them all by himself. So I think he understands the value of a good script. If you think about it, not all his films are non-linear. Inception technically is not non-linear. I mean, it does jump back and forth in time, but it's not that the film in itself is structured non-linearly. I mean, the whole concept takes us, deep into the man's psyche through his dreams, and obviously, when you're tapping into your dreams, you're also tapping into your memories. So that's why it seems like it's taking you back in time, but it's
Hmm.
actually not. It's all moving forward. Um, Technically, it's all moving forward, right? Temporally, it's all moving
I didn't
forward,
get that both the
right?
times I
But
watched.
Dunkirk, yes, Dunkirk has a non-linear structure. Memento has a non-linear structure. Prestige has a non-linear structure. Oppenheimer has a non-linear structure. But I think it's always that his style and his form matches his content, matches, as you were saying, the emotional arc that he wants the story to have or the character to have. His narrative structure is always based on that.
Yeah.
So, like for example, one of the key themes that you would see in a lot of his films is the idea of memory and
Hmm.
how memory creates individuals. Sometimes he deals with individual memory, sometimes he deals with collective memory. He deals with things like perception. Perception, I mean, if you understand physics, our perception of reality is as much dependent on what we feel when we touch things, as much as it is also dependent on when we are touching it, right? Your perception of reality is as much dependent on what you feel when you're touching something
Hmm.
or when you're seeing something, but also when you are seeing it, right? If you're touching something during the day, you'll obviously understand it's hot because the sun is outside, and you check your time, it's 4 o'clock. So your perception of reality is based somewhat on the perception of time.
Makes
So he
sense.
understands that.
Yeah.
And if you think about memory, for that matter, when you try and tap into your memories to, for example, solve something that you are dealing with right now, you do not tap into your memories l- linearly, right?
Okay.
Your mind can jump wherever it can jump.
Yeah.
So, a lot of theorists have said that he fractures time to fracture perceptions of reality, because a lot of the minds that he taps into are troubled, right? They have been fractured by trauma, they've been fractured
Yeah.
by personal tragedy, and that is what he's trying to. If you look at, for example, Memento,
Hmm.
he literally has emotional trauma plus he has head trauma,
Yeah.
right? But a lot of people say that his condition is actually a representation of his shattered identity, right? So that's why the structure varies. One side is moving forward in time, one side is moving backward in time. A lot of people think it's just to give us an understanding of how he's perceiving time, but it's that's true, but it's also to do with us understanding how he's not able to reconcile his past and his present.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So if you put your mind to that or into that, then I think it starts to make more sense, even if you don't get everything about that film. And I think he's always maintained that his style and his form is always dependent on what is it that he's trying to say.
Yeah.
right?
I think I'm regretting taking this topic right now.
Why?
तो ज़्यादा ही ज्ञान हो रहा है,
The
okay,
ज्ञान,
like
right?
let's get into the masala part of it,
Okay.
right? So I've heard that he basically does not use a lot of CGI and everything,
Yeah.
which I'm
It's
sure
not
is
true. It's not true. It's good
we
marketing.
okay, yeah, okay. But what I have heard quite often is when I tell other people that,
Mm.
oh, I'm not someone who usually goes to the theater to watch like his films, or I actually just watched it because I was in film school and I was
Yeah.
forced to watch his films because we study them. So I watched his films.
Right.
Otherwise, it's not possibly my first choice,
Right.
right?
What do you like
What
watching?
mostly like wrong.
Okay.
Like I am more like
So
let's
Anne Hathaway was once asked, "Do you see Nolan directing a rom-com?" And the answer was like, no.
yeah, exactly, right? So I don't think he was the first person to enter my mind when I'm like, oh, I want to watch a film today. Let's watch a Christopher Nolan film. Like that doesn't happen to
Yeah.
me. I'm like, give me my Karan Johar. That's fine.
That's right.
So, what is your opinion when people are like, oh, people who don't like, how can you be a film student and not like Christopher Nolan? I've heard that sentence so many times.
Um, I think it's a futile point to raise because yeah, I mean you can not like or not be because I have a feeling that if you watch his films, you're watching it for a reason, and if you watch it with a reason, you will like it. But if you don't want to watch it at all, I don't think there is any problem in that because, yeah, to each his own. I mean, if you don't want to deal with the kind of existential questions or identity or all of those things that he deals with, then yeah, that's fine. But yeah, maybe just to understand what he's trying to do with the structure, maybe as an exercise in learning, maybe you can watch it. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I do see that there are a lot of like these fan wars online where people call each other dumb or
Yeah.
whatever pretentious if they like or don't like.
Yeah. And what do you think about him being used as like the definition of genre? Like if you think about it, what the kind of movie that he makes, it's a very weird genre. It's like a mix of bunch of things.
Yes.
So now someone wants to describe a film, they literally just be like, oh, like just it's like a Christopher Nolan film. Like it's
Yeah.
become like that adjective,
Yeah.
right? And what do you think about other people comparing their work to Christopher Nolan's work?
Like
Like using
are
that
you
as a
talking
measure of comparison. Film, like
film
Bollywood writers, for example, Bollywood directors.
no, so I think they should not do that because I think that is stupid.
Yeah.
They are stupid because they're trying to come. So again, I think using anyone as a barometer for your work, I think is stupid because you can say that something is like Woody
Inspired.
Allen esque or Nolan esque, but like you are trying to emulate him, but you can't see. You have to understand the amount of hard work he puts into writing the scripts, as
Definitely.
I just mentioned, right? He would probably take a year to write a script, and he probably only takes 6 months to shoot it, right? Like for example, his latest film, the one that he's working on right now, Odyssey. I
Odyssey.
have a feeling that he had written the script not a feeling. I know for a fact that he had finished the script long time ago, right? And he's only taken about 6 months to shoot. I mean, the film just went into production. I think 3 or 4 months ago, and it's now completed production, right? So if you think about it, he puts a lot of hard work into the writing part,
Hmm.
which I think most writers are not willing to do. Plus, he plans out his shoots in such a way that I think most directors in India or abroad are not willing to do. So, if you can't do all of that, then why are you comparing yourself?
Yeah. Another point
Mm.
that I was like researching and I found a lot is that a lot of critics argue that Nolan's films often lack strong female characters.
Yeah.
And a lot of people also think that he's actually misogynistic in that approach, right? And it's like women in his stories are like sidelined or they're like killed to put the
Yeah.
male character in front. Like, what are your thoughts? Do you think he's misogynistic?
I can't deny that. I can't deny that because he has been guilty of that on a couple of occasions. Like in Inception, he was.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know that Inception is based on another, not based on, but like a lot of the characters and a lot of like the central conflicts are taken from his first film,
Okay.
Following, right? Even the name of the main character, the way he dresses, his goat, like not goatee, like that French cut beard that he has, all of that comes from his first film, right? So he's guilty of doing that in his first film. He's guilty of doing that in Inception. He's done that in the Dark Knight trilogy as well. Even though, I mean, he's done it really, really well. I mean, in the Dark Knight, Rachel's death is, I think, one of the most important scenes in the film. But if you see that happen again and again, you start to see a
Yeah.
pattern. So yeah, he's done that in the past.
But why do you think so? Like, why?
I think so. I trace it back to his interest in film noir.
Okay.
And a lot of his early work was called noirish. And in film noir, there is this archetype of
Hmm.
the femme fatale, and
Okay.
more often than not, the femme fatale dies. And even in Nolan's work, you see that like for example, uh, Cobb's wife in Inception um, is sort of someone who's trying to pull him into his dreamscape, even though she's already died. So
Hmm.
she kind of becomes a femme fatale in that way.
Okay.
So similarly, you see that the femme fatale character has to be killed for the character for the main character, the male character, to come out of whatever funk he's gone into.
Okay.
So I think that's what his justification might be.
Hmm.
But I think he's done that less and less. I
Okay.
mean, even in Oppenheimer, like one of the main character, female character, dies, but that was a historical fact. So can't
Yeah.
really walk away from that.
Another thing I've heard is that Nolan always insists on shooting everything on an IMAX. And I, for one, think that's
Hmm.
crazy because that's like a production cost, like massacre. It's a disaster,
Right.
right? Like like the cameras are huge, they're expensive, the film stock is pricey. Like, what's your opinion on that? Why would he insist on that?
So again, I think it goes back to the first answer that I gave, that he believes that he has to marry narrative and spectacle. And I think he believes more in IMAX as compared to 3D. He's never really believed in 3D because, according to him, 3D puts you out of the cinematic experience.
Okay.
And I think he sees IMAX, and I truly back him on this. IMAX is more immersive because you're able to see
Yeah, sure.
more of the world that he's creating, and he actually is able to immerse. As I was saying, he's able to immerse you visually into the narrative. So when you're watching, let's say, the fields of New Mexico, where eventually the nuclear explosion is going to happen, you're already a part of that reality, right? So I think there is a certain kind of visual intrigue that he brings, or visual grandness and intrigue that he brings into it just by using IMAX. And yeah, obviously that's an added production cost, but I mean, you might be surprised to know that all of his last few films have come under budget. So yeah, I think, and they all end up making moments. Like for example, Oppenheimer was an R-rated film, but it ended up making what, $900 million
So basically,
on like,
jugaad अच्छा
yeah. So it was made on $100 million, and so he basically made 8x on, or made the studio 8x on their investment, right? So he has certain specific parameters that he goes to any studio, and he presents those parameters to them, that I want 100-day. Plus, he's a big fan of the not fan. He's a big proponent of the theatrical experience of watching films. So he believes the best way to watch a film is in an IMAX theater, and obviously that doesn't stop you from watching a film in a normal theater also. But yeah, so I think I do buy into that. And the question that you asked about his films being cold, yes, again, I think there have been films that have been correctly, blamed for being too cold. But then there are other films that have been quite emotional. Like Dunkirk for me was quite emotional.
Yeah.
Interstellar, as you mentioned, was quite emotional. I think Oppenheimer, the ending of Oppenheimer was also quite emotional for me. I think I wept at the ending of Oppenheimer because it talks about the collective trauma of what happened in Hiroshima, and the collective trauma of what possibly can happen now. So yeah, I think he has he has learned. So he's one of those filmmakers, and the reason why I respect him so much is that I think he's understood a lot of the criticism that has come his way,
Hmm.
right? And if you watch his first film and then you watch Oppenheimer and you watch everything in the middle, you will see him grow,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's one of the biggest advantages of sort of being a student of Nolan, because you see that even someone as great as Nolan has learned and grown in the last 2 or 3 decades, however long he's been making films.
Wow, he sounds like a stand-up guy.
Yeah, he is.
Would love to meet him one day.
Absolutely. Same. I mean, I say absolutely.
I hope you do get a chance to meet
Yeah.
him at least
There's
once.
something else you were asking me about him.
No,
Uh,
I think it's
yeah.
done. लोग सो जाएँगे। इसके बाद थोड़ा-सा मेरे भी सर के से ऊपर जा रहा है।
There's this one thing that I wanted to
Yeah.
for any one of your listeners who wants to get into Nolan, because as you know,
Oh yeah,
you have
like
sort of
what would you suggest I start with?
yeah, you've sort of watched his films, like there's no pattern
Yeah, there's no
through
pattern.
which you watched his films. I would recommend you actually watch his films chronologically,
Okay.
like the year it came out, like his first film, then his
Yeah.
second film, then his third film. Again, coming back to the point that I was trying to make, that
Mhm.
you'll be able to see his narrative growth. And trust me, when you see Oppenheimer, you will see that everything that he's made a mistake with in one of his early films, or an art that he was trying to maybe perfect in some of his early films, he's actually bettered it in Oppenheimer. Like one point, I'll make one final point, that dialogue is something that Nolan, I always felt he was not like there always, like he was. At times, he used to get very, very expositionary, or his dialogue got very expository.
See, maybe I'll watch it this time and I'll stay awake.
Yeah.
But anyways, guys, सुन लो weekend movie plans मिल गए तुम लोग. So that's it. Thank you so much for coming. We will show up here with another episode
Yeah.
of another random.
And next
thought.
time when you call me, I'll probably take more time in replying. Yeah.
I will do another one that basic random thoughts that show up in my head. I'm pretty sure I'll come up with another one for next week. Anyways,
Can I plug my channel here as well?
yeah, please,
Yeah.
please, for sure.
Yeah, so I do YouTube videos, and I mean, it's probably not as much as much fun as your podcast, but yeah, you can watch. Yeah, random conversations about different
Don't
directors.
worry, I have enough critics. I'll show you the comments.
Okay, good. I've actually disabled mine. I'm very bad at criticism
Chalo.
or like
Yeah.
listening to criticism.
So, see you guys next time. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. And I will be back with yet another nameless and weird thought in my head. Thank you.